WrestleZone, or hello, WrestFriend. Am I doing it correctly? I don't know. We'll get into it. AEW Dynamite was tonight. WWE NXT was tonight. They both did a lot of crazy things, and if you're with us live or listening on demand, we want to know what you think. This is your AEW NXT post-show for the 24th of June. We, of course, will cover all the big stories going on in the world of wrestling, the developing speaking out movement, which continues now nearly a week in after it got going last week, and it continues to be a very, very formative and impactful change in the world of wrestling. We'll talk about that in just a second. Also, we'll talk about the scary situation in Florida today with both WWE and NXT dealing with different issues involving the coronavirus, including positive tests for multiple WWE personnel who have yet to be named. Let's get into that. I'm not alone. I am Kevin Kellam with WrestleZone. Joining me is the WrestFriends. Not just one WrestFriend, but dos WrestFriends. Teti, Chavez, Iridian, Fierro. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you, Kev?
I'm well. I know this isn't about me. I'm just here to kind of be the third wheel, the big head here with you and Teti. Just
you know you're a rest friend.
Well, I'm rest friend adjacent. You know what I mean? I'm rest friend adjacent. You know,
you're still one of our favorite rest friends. So.
Yeah. Oh, okay, all right, I'll take it. I was just getting it out of you. I was under this beard, I'm blushing. If you're with us live, don't forget to share the link, get your comments on screen, tell us what you think of the shows. Also, when we review wrestling, we review it on what I would say a very scientific spectrum of 1 to 10. 1 being the best, 1 being the worst, and 10 being the best. You know, dyslexia. That's why I need the numbers to keep me in track. So fans will tell us what you think, but let's get into the trying news of it. We did a breaking news video about this earlier today. If you're with us on the podcast side of things, you may have not seen this, but it popped up. And WWE had a scary situation, as did AEW, with the coronavirus. The cases have been surging in Florida, where they've been filming in Jacksonville for AEW and in Orlando and Winter Park, Florida for WWE. Pretty scary situation. What we understand right now, and WWE has confirmed this, that they will continue to do future testing, and they have changed the way they've been testing. It isn't clear how long they've been testing, but they've been doing it, as far as we know, for at least a few weeks. I know we had a confirmed case with a trainee last week. They tested people. Everyone came back negative, so they felt safe kind of moving on with whoever tested negative to continue. Now, it isn't unclear when this most recent batch of tests came out with positive results with multiple people, and that includes in-ring performers. Now, this is the first time we've ever heard of an in-ring performer that you're seeing get this on any televised wrestling company. At the same time, outside of the Performance Center and outside of AEW's Daily Center as well, is this issue of surging cases. There's a growing number of positive cases. At the most recent time, Florida's kind of been running loose with their regulations, and that a lot of people think that's why WWE went there. Why are they deemed essential in that regard? So a lot of challenges to that. At one point, AEW wasn't in Florida. They were in Norcross, Georgia, though they claimed to say they were in an undisclosed location. So outside of that, it is kind of a place of where they're running the show and what they're doing. Iridian, Teti, what do you think here? This is a scary situation. We don't know how severe it could be, but we've heard big numbers. We've heard big numbers. We can't confirm any of them just yet.
Yeah, I don't know. The first thing that goes through my mind is I hope they're okay. I hope it's not severe and crazy, because we have, of course, heard of COVID-19 killing people. So, I mean... Yeah,
especially, you got older family members. Maybe you have family members with, different health issues. You could have wrestlers, superstars, performers in the ring that have maybe asthmatic issues or a diabetic issue. That's why you haven't seen a lot of Kyle O'Reilly in NXT. He is diabetic. So, I mean, you have people with those autoimmune issues that you have to look out for them. They can still be wrestlers, They can still be wrestlers. Iridian, your take on this?
It's scary because, a couple of weeks ago, we just saw how many people there were in the development, in the Performance Center. There's people in the crowd. Even though there's social distancing, it's still a lot of people. So now that we hear that all of these cases are coming out, I'm just like, there has to be more. I feel like there just has to be, because the way that Florida has been handling things, Robert has told us it's not the best. So I feel like this is to
our
be
very
kind
own
of
Robert
expected.
Robert decided to take this week off of all the weeks to take off as things kind of hit the fan.
Yeah.
Yes, Robert is actually watching the show, but not working. He's texting and saying Florida is not going downhill at all. Very fine. Totally stable.
Okay.
I think that reeks of sarcasm, Robert. Thank you for your not so things. And so it's kind of an evolving situation. And a lot of people are, I heard this, I heard that. Let it be known, we're not going to put anything out there on WrestleZone.com unless we're pretty sure of it. Yeah. We've kind of been aggregating everything. We've had a lot of people try and sell us. There's over 24 people that tested positive for it, and we haven't been able to place that source. We have multiple people tweeting that earlier today and trying to tag us in different things. And I can tell you, we haven't seen that yet. So we don't know how many, and that's just a matter of when we're on air with you right now. If you're getting the podcast, maybe we know a better idea on Thursday morning, the 25th of June, 2020. We may know that number. But WWE confirmed this. They are doing advanced testing. They're changing the way they're testing people. That was the confirmation they gave WrestleZone tonight. Let it be known, Ryan Satin really broke this story at Pro Wrestling Sheet, and then things kind of folded from there. He's a pretty verifiable source. And we've heard more from Fightful.com and our buddy over there, Sean Ross Sapp. Your buddy, not my buddy. But it's a scary situation. Now, AEW has dealt with their own situation in this as well. Don't worry, we will talk about what happened in the ring on AEW in just a minute as we move over to them. We learned that QT Marshall, who is involved in the management of AEW, not just performing in the ring, but also training talent, and AEW champion Jon Moxley were both forced into quarantine, and Tony Khan was open about this, transparent on it. And then a lot of people say, look at AEW, they're so transparent about this, and WWE isn't. And it's a lot of different things on it. That's we could get into that argument a whole nother time. But they've said it. You have two guys on the roster who are going into quarantine because they believe they've been exposed to people or been exposed to other people who could have been near someone with COVID-19. So extra precautionary. What do you think about the situation with AEW? I don't feel it's any different. I do think they kind of get less pressure put on them for this as compared to WWE because, they're in an open air venue, but I really don't think that means anything when you're backstage and you're changing in locker rooms. I mean, AEW has a huge facility in Jacksonville to do that, as does WWE, deep cleaning. You're mitigating the risk, but at some point, the more you go out there, the more risk you're taking, right?
Yeah, definitely. JR tonight on commentary even mentioned, he said that, AEW is the wrestling promotion that takes care of the wrestlers the most during, COVID-19.
That's a real red line there, don't you think? That's a real.
I was like,
that's
okay.
a real. Sure, this knife is sharp. So if you want to change the channel, you're watching people really risk their. Come on. I heard about that. Someone texted it to me. I was like, I don't know the point of that.
I was like, I don't think you needed to mention that. Like,
nope.
I felt it was a dig.
Yep. It is my number one pet peeve with AEW things is spiteful things. You guys remember because I'm older, right? I'm older. They would do that during WCW, WWE, and when I was like a teenager, it'd be like, ooh. But now I am in my 30s. I'm like,
just let it go.
Let it go, dude. Like, you guys are both putting on shows. You should be happy that you're even able to be on the air right now.
Yeah.
All things considered. So that is how they are dealing with things. If you're with us live, yes, we can talk about wrestling now. Let's get into AEW first. We always cover them first. We'll cover NXT. I loved NXT tonight, by the way. They did some very, very big things to set up the next few weeks of wrestling for them. But what did AEW do? Because we got Fyter Fest 2 weeks starting next week. It'll be a pay-per-view on television, their own version of Clash of the Champions, if you will. And the first part of it will be next week. How did they make you guys feel about Fyter Fest tonight, Teddy?
I'm excited for Fyter Fest. They're going to have a lot of matches that I'm pretty sure are going to be great because there's a lot of great people that they're promoting for Fyter Fest. And it's 2 nights, so we know it's not going to be like squeezed and like rushed or anything. Right. So I'm so excited for that. I saw that the Lucha Bros came back, and that stood out for me tonight. That was very, very exciting. So are they going to be at Fyter Fest? On Fyter Fest, I mean, are they going to have one?
Who knows? You have 2 weeks. You have 2 weeks of TV, right? You've Iridian just popped out there. She'll join us here in a minute, Teddy. Always wonderful internet connections here. But I mean, you have 2 weeks. You have 2 weeks of a show here, basically spread out over 2 weeks. It's gonna be a TV show. I don't know if it'll feel like a pay-per-view, but I mean, I think that's kind of what they're going for. Let's not do another pay-per-view in the middle of the summer. And we like to spread things out. Let's make All Out the next real big one that we have. And I'm not opposed to that, but I mean, Lucha Bros, we haven't seen them in a long, long time. I mean, we saw Phoenix before Double or Nothing, but then he got injured and we couldn't see him. How much do you think they shake up the tag team ranks in AEW coming back here?
A lot. I think they're one of the greatest tag teams in AEW. They have so much charisma without even having to speak. At least that's how I feel. And they're scary.
They are legitimately scary. The eye makeup from Pentagon it's spooky. I'm gonna say it. If I get scared by a wrestler, I'm an adult. There's something to that, There's something to scaring me as an adult. Iridian, what do you think of Lucha Bros coming back tonight?
Oh man, I was so excited when I saw them. I've been waiting for them to come back for a while. So the fact that we got to see them tonight and that we're gonna see them at Fyter Fest, I'm really excited. They're probably my favorite tag team in AEW right now. One of my favorite tag teams. But I'm excited to see them.
Mm-hmm. Now, FTR had another big win tonight. They were supposed to take on QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes, obviously because of the QT Marshall situation that was changed to SCU. They had a big night. They had a very, very solid victory here. How solid was the match? You guys got to see it. I just got to follow along on Twitter while watching NXT.
I think it was pretty good. I'm a huge fan of FTR and SCU. They both have such great. I don't know. They're so good in the ring, and they each have such great. I don't want to say charisma, but I don't know. I'm a huge fan of them, and I think they both work very well together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they play off of each other really well, and they just have so much experience. They kept mentioning that FTR is like, they follow the rules, they hold the tag rope in the corners, and they're trying to bring back this good style in tag team wrestling. So they're pushing them really, really hard.
Yeah,
they are very much like they like wrestling, and you like wrestling, and this is the way wrestling's supposed to be. Wrestling, it's like okay. I get it. Other big moments on AEW. We had some fans texting you here about the situation with Jon Moxley. He's supposed to be a big match with Brian Cage coming up at Fyter Fest. Do they make it clear tonight whether or not we're going to see Moxley there? Now, obviously, Moxley, I assume, is going to be tested, and they're going to see if he's clear to go here. And he's being put under quarantine because he's been exposed to someone who may or may not have been exposed to COVID-19. I saw everyone rush like little detectives on Twitter and Instagram tonight and tell me, the WWE sent Renee Young with the virus they sent her to infect Jon Moxley. This is all a plot by Vince McMahon to use the pandemic to keep Jon Moxley from Dean Ambrose. And I saw, there was a lot of a lot of 2-cent detectives out there saying that, but who knows? Maybe that is the case. Who cares? So, is there a chance that did you get any inclination of what they may do if Brian Cage isn't taking on Jon Moxley tonight?
I think we're getting that match.
Teddy, you hop in first here. You hop in first, Teddy. What'd you say?
They are promoting him. He's supposed to main event for the second night, which is 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks from today. So I don't know. I hope it happens. I mean, if you were exposed to someone with COVID and you don't have COVID, you are supposed to quarantine for 2 weeks. So that's like the perfect amount of time,
Yeah, especially if they push it back a week. It's like right there. He's right there. See, people are all amped up for this match. They're pounding on the door, saying they gotta have it. You better have that match. What other big moments and takeaways did you guys get from Dynamite tonight, Iridian?
Oh man, Orange Cassidy and Jericho. That was like a big thing for me. Chris Jericho was just talking so much smack about Orange Cassidy. He said he didn't know why he got signed with the company. When he heard Orange was going to be with AEW, he called Tony Khan, he called the Young Bucks, and he said, why did you hire this guy? And he didn't get his gimmick. And Orange Cassidy was just like, no, not having it. Chris Jericho ripped up his glasses, and that was the last straw. And then they had a brawl all over the stadium, where we were exposed to, like, there was actually 50 people there, kind of in the audience. I'm just like, oh my God, guys, we're not following the rules. But Orange Cassidy put Jericho through a table. Orange Cassidy was bleeding. There was a lot I'm ready for this match.
So you're ready for
So
it.
good.
Is Jericho putting Orange Cassidy over? Because the way they're framing this, I feel like we get a shocking win. I feel like this is, and Jericho is in that guy where he's Teflon. It wouldn't hurt his career to lose a match like this. It would not. Furthermore, I think it'd be much more engaging if he won. If Orange Cassidy won over, it'd be the biggest win of his career, without a shadow of a doubt. And we've seen this before, that people are excited when Orange Cassidy kind of just unclothes from this comic. Always funny. I'm too cool for school. No, I want to fight. And then there's that sense of it turning on, and you see the fireballs in his eyes, and it's kind of exciting. And I think Jericho is such a variety player where he can play all the notes in wrestling, from the valiant babyface to the chicken shiz heel to the monster heel to the ruthless aggression guy. Like, he can do it all. And I really think he loves this because he gets to do a bunch of different, he gets to play a lot of different things at one time. And also I think he's an innovative player like that. And Saul saying, Orange Cassidy is a 16-year vet. He's no slouch in his own right. Of course, he has some background with Chikara. He came up pretty hard. I think a lot of people have to remember that, like, he was a masked wrestler for a long, long time. He was one of the fire ants in Chikara. So, I mean, this is a guy who, this is a big opportunity with him. We got signed by AEW. I can agree with the sentiment that Jericho is trying to play into, of like, there's a lot of people who think you still think you're a joke. Like, you still think you're just a joke. And for any lack of a better phrase, he is. He's a comedy wrestler. That is that is what he's playing for. WWE is Otis. Like, do I think Otis is going to be a WWE champion? If he is, it is purely transitional, and that isn't to take anything away from Otis. You need people to play certain roles. A cookie's not a meal. A cookie is a fun dessert, okay? And sometimes we get to have some really tough cookies in wrestling. I think some people have to understand that that's okay, because you're still on a show. You know what's cooler being a comedy wrestler? You know what's not as cool as that? The wrestlers who don't get on TV and don't get reactions. So when people say that, I was like, I don't buy it. So what do you think here, Orange Cassidy and Jericho? Who wins this thing?
I'm going to go with Orange. I think he's going to take it.
Yeah, me too. I think Kevin made a great point there. It wouldn't hurt Orange Cassidy to win. That's a good point.
It would be so much more compelling for me to do this. Overall, how's everything else going on in AEW? What's something that maybe I didn't miss, just flipping around on Twitter with 4 screens up on a Wednesday night? What's something I caught that maybe you're like, I don't know why they're doing this? There's got to be some thumbs down moments on AEW tonight. And did you see any that made you go like, I don't know where they're going with that?
Oh, man.
At least that I could think of, I don't think there's anything I'm not into.
Yeah, I think everything was really building up towards the next 2 weeks, which I thought was pretty good, because we got a lot of developing storylines. Like Sheeta came out, beat her opponent in 20 seconds, then went after Penelope, went after Kip. Kip had one lens in his sunglasses left. It was great. Like, people are being built and storylines are being told.
I love the always cartoon when someone gets beat up and they have glasses and one lens is out. That's always a very cartoony thing to do that I always appreciate. You can definitely enjoy it. So we give it the old 1 to 10, Teti, out of 10. 1 being not number 1, being the worst, and 10 being absolutely number 1, being the absolute best. There's nothing better than this. Where do you give it on the 1 to 10 scale? All right, I got 10 fingers. Are you gonna use all the fingers to rate this week's AEW Dynamite? What do you give it?
I'm gonna say an 8. Almost close to a 9, but I'm gonna give it an 8. It was good. It just wasn't like the greatest Dynamite. But yeah, an 8.
Iridian, what do you say?
I gotta agree with my best friend. I'm going with an 8.
All right. You guys both agree it's an 8. That's a solid show. I have to say, it looks like things are exciting overall. And, when you think that your champion isn't going to be there, mind you, they don't have Jon Moxley on TV every week. So I do think AEW doesn't have the same thing as like a Raw or SmackDown, where you kind of want the same people on a lot. They have a smaller roster. They don't feel like they have to overexpose everyone. NXT sort of does that to a degree too. So that brings me to this. NXT this week was a banger. I thought this was a really, really good show. I would say it was better than last week. And I thought last week was a really good show, and the ratings proved it. All right. So after last week's NXT, AEW, we go on air. It's right after the show. We don't have the ratings yet. But last week they were within 40,000 of each other. AEW has been leading for quite some time. So the ratings kind of showed that. Furthermore, it showed that Sasha Banks and Bayley last week in the ratings had the most watched segment of the night, despite AEW having an overall bigger viewership. And that actually led to a little bit of a Twitter beef between them playfully with Chris Jericho, which I thought was pretty entertaining to follow online. So people saying, how's NXT? NXT, I can tell you, is really strong. For some reason, we're getting the Great American Bash next week. All right. Great American Bash is old WCW pay-per-view, and WWE has been able to revive these things. They did with War Games and threw it in NXT. So for the hardcore wrestling fans who have been watching a long time, and guess what? The older wrestling fans who watch NXT and AEW, you're going to get the Great American Bash. What is that? I don't know. There's a bunch of big matches they put on it, and they've built to. But the weird thing is, the match they've been building to the most is not going to be on that show, but it will be a Great American Bash. So I'm trying to think that they're trying to make Fyter Fest have a counter programming with Great American Bash next week, whatever that big theme may be. All right. And then leading to the next week, they're going to do Adam Cole versus the winner of tonight's main event. I will say one of the best televised NXT matches in months. They've had some great matches that were fun, but didn't have that big match, super fight feel. And we got one tonight with Keith Lee defending the North American title against Johnny Gargano. He's going to deliver. And Finn Balor, who's been having big matches in NXT, but has not really been in the main event right away since he came there and was a part of the program late 2019. So this was another chance for him to kind of get there. They went all over the place. They really played off the idea of all three guys working together. They didn't do the usual thing in a triple threat where it's like, I'm gonna be a real wuss. I'm gonna run around the ring. And Johnny Gargano did that for a little bit before he got thrown into the fray. And they kept bringing it up that one of these guys could get pinned and Keith Lee could lose the title and not get pinned, which is what happened at the Takeover in Your House. I like when they do that because they do build up the idea of, well, that could happen or that couldn't, and you're second guessing yourself no matter how much you're a fan. Mauro Ranallo, I think, is really, really underrated. I really, really enjoy his broadcast in the sense of like his fundamentals with all the sizzle on it too. Like you really get the flavor for what he's doing. And I think he's just been far and away one of my favorite wrestling commentators to watch in a long, long time. So I love that sense of drama. They went through, I believe, 2 commercial breaks. They started with about 27 minutes left in the show, so you got plenty of time. This was all over the place. In the last few minutes, I thought Finn Balor is laid out on the top rope, hunched over, and Keith Lee falls over on top of Johnny Gargano with this huge giant frame, working like the best working man. He did a splash over the top rope. He like spun his body like a tope. This is a 300-pound man spinning himself in the air. All right. He is huge, and he is running around the ring like a ballerina. It's insane. All right. So I'm loving this, and Gargano is laid out. I'm thinking like Balor's going to win this match. They're going to put Balor in this match because the winner of the title, this North American title match, gets to face Adam Cole for the NXT title on the 8th. And they built up to this last week. So, all right, I'm excited. And they went a whole other way. Keith was able to get out of the way. He hit the coup de grace off the top rope, the double stomp into Gargano. Then he slams out Gargano. And then he gives another big avalanche to Finn Balor. Keith Lee has the North American title and now could potentially become the double champ in NXT. This is a concept that New Japan did a while back. I think it's a cool idea. Stephen Chambers saying it was an awesome triple threat potential match of the year. I didn't say that yet. Wow, that's pretty crazy. Michael Wolf saying he gives the whole show a 7.5. He was really on it. Loved the main event. I absolutely loved it. As I mentioned, just an incredible match. If you didn't see anything on NXT, maybe you're watching AEW the whole time. You're like, I don't want to watch all AEW, or I watched AEW, don't want to watch all of NXT. Just go seek this match out. It was that good. It was as good as anything they had on TakeOver. I absolutely loved it. It just blew away everything else on NXT tonight. There's some good stuff on NXT. They did some good things. Surprising win by Cameron Grimes over Damian Priest. Injured ribs. They played off that. Never would have expected that. They did a lot of exciting stuff with the women as well. Tegan Nox looking like a beast. They're going to do a fatal 4-way, and the winner gets a shot at Io Shirai next week on The Bash. They didn't tell you it was The Bash until like the last commercial break, by the way. So I don't know about that effective booking, but if you're just looking for one great match on television, you're getting one with Balor, Lee, and Gargano, and stakes involved as well. They ended the night with Lee holding up his title, Adam Cole the longest reigning NXT champion in the history of the brand. Earlier in the night, we had Dexter Lumis versus Roderick Strong, which is more just Roderick Strong being scared and not getting in the ring and running away. And they've been doing these segments for a while. They're kind of funny. We got to see Kyle O'Reilly play a therapist backstage earlier in the show. It was a hoot. I didn't mind it. I was into it. We also saw Karrion Kross get a strong challenge from Reed, the thick boy from New Zealand. But they're building up to him, and he kept pointing his finger, tick-tock, me and Adam Cole. So I don't know how Adam Cole is going to deal with both Keith Lee and Karrion Kross, who looms in the darkness. He's been threatening him for weeks here. See what fans are thinking. What do you guys think of all these developments tonight with NXT?
Man, I'm honestly what I'm thinking is I really hope Finn Balor wins. I've been thirsty for Finn Balor to be champ since he was.
Well, you're not going to see. They went with Keith Lee now. So, I mean, Finn Balor, once again, what are we doing with him? This is a huge star. I do agree that he's a big, big star that still has that big audience overseas. What are you doing with him? I agree with you, Teti. Like you could have gone with any of these guys, and I would have been okay with it. But I did think they weren't going to go with Gargano. They've done Gargano and Cole enough recently, and I thought they kind of needed a babyface. Finn Balor is very much in a tweener position right now where people like him, but he's clearly not playing defense. He's definitely like, I just want to destroy everyone and look how great I am. Keith Lee definitely has the fans' support right now, too. Like, he's playing to that. So it wasn't a bad decision. I did think if they went with Gargano is just too much. Iridian, what do you think?
I don't know. I think Keith Lee as champion right now, he's doing that belt justice. I think they're really booking that belt well. Like, that belt is elevated now. Like, it's on par with, like, almost NXT Championship. So if Keith Lee ends up getting both belts, I feel like WWE is belt happy right now and just giving everybody 2 belts. So it could happen.
If you guys are watching, go ahead and tell us what you guys thought of the show. Laura The Rock giving it a 7.9. Michael Covington giving it an 8 out of 10. A lot of people enjoying it here. And other people saying Moro needs to say the word pandemonium more on NXT. I enjoy the way he says things here. Other people really feeling that it could be something special if they go with, Stephen Chambers. Big fan of the show. Thank you so much, Steven. Bringing this up. Roderick Strong versus Lumis in a strap match next week. Now, if you're strapped together, you can't get too far away. So you have to do a gimmick that plays off how scared Roderick Strong is. That will be less of a match and more of an angle. That seems to be the direction they're going. If you tell me Roderick Strong, who's just like a pure wrestling guy, he's the reincarnation of Dean Malenko to me. If you told me he would be doing comedy stuff in 2020, I would not believe you. But he's doing it effectively, so I'm not opposed to it. And it's definitely a weird thing here. Some people thinking that Keith Lee's going to get this belt off Adam Cole. Do you think they go that far with it? I mean, Adam Cole's had the title a long, long time, and everyone's been saying it's time for him to go to Raw or SmackDown. Is this the way you do that?
It could be. This would be the opportunity. If they do get the belt off of him, what's left for Adam Cole to do in NXT, honestly? I think they should just move him up. But are they going to? I don't know, because I feel like they would have to do that with all of the Undisputed Era. They can't just send Adam Cole and that's it. They would have to take all of Undisputed Era with them.
I'm one of those people that doesn't want to see Adam Cole on the main roster.
You don't want to see it?
Not even on SmackDown?
No.
Why?
Because he was good. Do you remember when they invaded SmackDown for Survivor Series? Do you remember that Daniel Bryan match?
Yeah. Come on, Teti. You don't want to let the guy have a shot here?
But I'm one of those people that I don't want to see him leave NXT.
Okay, all right. You just you know what? At least you're honest. Like me, I have to do like logic. It's all logic, and then I kind of think what I think. But I agree with you. Now we have this comment on screen. We have this comment on screen. Big viewer, big fan of the show, big listener of the show. What is he saying, Iridian?
Oh man, I think we got to name him though. Like his name is iconic, right? It's something like James Espanto Fernando Taguay, right? He says that something along those lines.
You didn't put any sauce in. I was about to roll my fingers like we're about to roll the R's.
Oh, do you want me to give it sauce?
I
gotta roll the R's now.
All right,
rewinding.
All right, let's pull it.
We're rewinding. All right. I got it.
Hey there, Iridian. There's this fan on screen right now, and his name is.
Oh my God, I got this, Kev. I got this.
Okay,
it's
all right.
James Espanto Fernando Taguay.
There we go. I rolled the R and I threw the salt on it. There we go. James is one of our big fans of the show. He says NXT was Popeye's chicken sandwich. AEW was spicy chicken tonight. Now, if you were to say
any of those sandwiches,
if go ahead, Teddy.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, well, it depends on which one is better for who, because there's people that prefer Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich over Popeyes. And there's people that prefer Popeyes over Wendy's chicken sandwich. And
some people just get chicken nuggets.
And so
it's just everyone's preference.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you get nuggets without sauce, why even get them? I've seen people do that. That's crazy.
Yeah, so just eat it by itself. Ew.
Yeah. All right. So it's been a crazy night for wrestling, and it's been a crazy week for wrestling, both good and bad, depending on how you want to view it. I know at WrestFriends, you guys have been covering this, is you guys have a very female-focused take on the world of wrestling, and this is very much a female-focused issue with hashtag Speaking Out. Iridian, you've been a great resource for us on this. You've been following the pulse of it. It is, as I continue to say, a very hard thing to process just in the sheer amount of information that comes about it in many, many different ways. The information all being on social media, disseminated this way and that way, and this in the varying levels of degrees in terms of how severe the sexual misconduct is, whether we're addressing that as misconduct or simply this person is harassing me, or this person is emotionally abusive, or this person is just not a good person, and we're doing that. So there's been a lot of different takes of it now going to a different level. Obviously, we have awful people that I feel at this point have been routed out of the business, specifically Joey Ryan and Dave Christ. And other people say, how come these people haven't been fired? Other people haven't been fired. I do think there's some due process. There's some other people that do have a stake in defending their name in this. Specifically, Matt Riddle is one of those guys who came out right away and said, WWE knew about this when I signed. They knew about this person saying this about me. So when he said that, it was like, oh, then this has to have been investigated at some point. That doesn't mean it isn't going to go to court or isn't going to be fulfilled in any other way. As you guys continue to follow this, where do you see it going now? Because we've seen it even get to the independent level. It's taken down a couple of promotions, bar wrestling in California. It seems to be done. Mike Quackenbush was the lead trainer of the Wrestle Factory on the East Coast and the famed Chikara Wrestling. They've been they're basically discontinuing the promotion right now. I don't know if that means they're completely done. Where do you see it now? Because it does seem like it's moving very fast, but also going into some different directions of things that people don't seem as acceptable.
Go ahead, WrestFriend.
Yeah, you guys go ahead and take it. Yeah, this is the bouncing the ball around the room thing is kind of hard when there's three of us on screen. Go ahead, Teddy.
It's just, I don't know. It's just such a tough situation to even speak about, because there's so much going on. Like you said, it's emotional abuse. There's pedophiles involved, which is like the one that they're all shocking and they're all sad and they're all. I don't know. I don't even know what to say right now. But the whole pedophile thing is the one that really took me out recently, especially the whole Marty situation, Marty Squirrel. I don't know what to say right now. Restaurant, I need you to.
There's, I don't know, women, like even today on Twitter, like there's still news stories coming out. There's still women speaking out. So it's just like, I feel like women are just, just gonna keep telling their stories. I thought this was just gonna be like, oh man, like maybe these couple women are gonna come out, but it's still happening. And there's just a crazy amount of guys on this list, a crazy amount of guys who have been outed. And yeah, there are companies that are like no longer going to exist. Wrestling schools are going to shut down. There's even some artists that used to make, the art for some of these people who say, hey, I'm not going to run my business anymore because at one point I helped this person make money, and that just doesn't feel right. So it's crazy. I don't think this is gonna stop. I feel like, it's gonna be yeah, and especially now that Hangman deleted his Twitter. It's just like a lot of people are kind of done with social media because they just can't believe it, and it's really rough to log into Twitter every day and just kind of see all of these people talk about what they've been through and what they've experienced, and it's tough to read. I get it. But imagine what it's like for the women who actually went through all of that stuff.
Absolutely. But that brings me to the next level is, what is the next evolution of this in terms of changing things? Because I'm seeing a lot of people getting called out. I'm not seeing anyone being charged with any crimes yet, which is the part that I'm waiting to see, and I haven't seen, or just we haven't learned about just yet. We've had our ear to the ground on this on WrestleZone pretty hard. We initially wanted to pull back and see how quickly is this going to go, because it was coming at such a big rate that our boss, Bill Pritchard, I thought made a smart decision is let's let it get out there and see what happens. And then it kept going. We're like, all right, now we're in. All right, now we're gonna start talking to people we know in the industry, and it became more and more of a thing where we kind of had to follow it as closely as it could. And we have the COVID situation, and then we just have wrestling to cover in general. So it is a hard story to cover, but the question keeps coming up is, when does this go from, I'm saying this on Twitter, I'm saying this happened, I'm saying this about this person in this time frame, and bringing up dates and different people I think that were there, the way I met these people, whether it be through wrestling school or being around wrestling or being a fan, here are screenshots. When do those things make the leap from Twitter, Instagram to, we're not bringing this to court? Or does that need to happen at all? Because a lot of people have said the biggest thing I've heard be critical of the movement is that this isn't jury by jury. This is jury by social media.
Yeah. Some companies have said they're not going to book these people anymore. Yeah. Said, they're not with the company anymore. Mm-hmm. I would hope that eventually this goes further, and it's not just like a social media thing, that these women do get justice, because it's terrible, these things that have happened to them.
Yeah.
Teti?
I absolutely hope that they take it further and they go to court and everything. Because can you imagine if a lot of these guys, especially the smaller ones from smaller promotions, they're not going to wrestle anymore, right? They go do something else and people don't even know about them. They don't know that these guys were wrestlers and that they were accused of these heinous things, So they need to have some type of record on them so that everyone can be aware of what these guys are and what they've done,
And at what point do you think are you seeing any of this take a turn? Because I've seen this. There's some things where I was like, I don't think this is a part of. There's people using this like, hey, this person cheated me out of money, and I felt like I was put in this situation where I had to cheat out of someone else And there's been other things where I'm just like, that is a bad situation, but I don't think that's included. Have you seen any people misuse this? That's my worry, is people, are using this in a way to do other things with it, to get other things from it. And that would worry me. I've seen a couple of things that have been sent to us, and we just, at WrestleZone, we're like, I don't know about that one. And it's not important because we didn't run it, So there is that sense of, you want to have soft hands on all these stories, because it is a very, very sensitive issue. Have you seen anyone, though, kind of misuse the issue to propel some other different issues with it? That's the one thing that I'm scared of right now, especially because we're a week into this right now. We that's when the misinformation kind of starts with something like this. Yeah,
I have, but I think the important thing to do when something like that happens, where you come across someone that's just, I've seen one particular tweet where someone was saying that a wrestler winked at them, and that's it. And I'm like, they said that they were 20-something years old. The person that was accusing the wrestler, they didn't want to say who the wrestler was, but they said, I've heard bad things about this wrestler. But I didn't think that was as terrible, but I'm like, if you're going to accuse someone of something, like, have a story so that people are able to back you up. I think when you read a bogus story, I think the most important thing to do is just ignore it. Don't give them any attention. Don't retweet it. Don't share it. That's what I do. I just don't give it any attention.
Iridian?
Yeah, I haven't seen it being misused like that. But I'm sure there are people out there who are coming out for like petty things.
Yeah. And the thing is, this isn't a petty issue. This isn't like, you screwed me on a payday when I was wrestling in Philadelphia, and now I'm gonna get your ass. Like, it isn't. This is not that. And I would hope that people wouldn't treat it that way, and would do that. But in the age of, I got this 20 minutes, click, 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 boom, it's out there. It feels like that. Like the immediacy of it, I think, is what has made it move so quickly and galvanize people and become such a strong that has made so many men and women feel like they can come out about these different issues that have happened to them. And I think that is the most important thing. I'm using this word a lot. Empathy. I think people just need to be empathetic and understand, that if you're going to do this, you're doing this because it's the right thing to do. And it affects yourself and many other people. So I absolutely agree. In terms of WrestFriends, what is going on with you guys on the YouTube and the Spotify? You kicked our ass. We got on Spotify. We got the podcast up there. So thank you for lighting that fire under us. Iridian, what's going on with WrestFriends this week?
So we just dropped an episode today, and we talk about, the hashtag speaking out and just kind of what Teti and I have been through at shows and in life and women as wrestling fans. And I think it's just important that you get, a woman's view on it. Because, wrestling is so male oriented, centered. So it's just nice to get the women's view on what we go through and stuff.
When I go into a chat room for the Bachelorette, it's like no one listens to me. It's like
I wonder why, Kev.
It's like
people don't take you seriously.
Yeah, it's like I want a rose. Why don't I get a rose?
You'll get a rose one day, Kev.
I agree.
But we talk about that, and we also talk about how WWE and AEW and other wrestling promotions have handled COVID, especially in this crazy time, just because there's every state is handling it differently, and we're all in different phases, and everyone has done different things. So it's just interesting to see what everyone thinks about that.
I know we opened the show with it, and we kind of close that with it now. What's the next thing here with COVID-19? I mean, there is a fear in general that a second wave will hit us when the flu season kicks in at the end of the year, and we don't have a vaccine yet. And it doesn't seem like we're going to have a vaccine before the end of the year. If we're lucky, we do. God bless, we get that, right? But where is wrestling? Does it keep going in this? I don't, especially now, if what we're hearing about multiple cases that would be very, very high, all right? We're talking about multiple people, whether asymptomatic, pre-symptomatic, or actually dealing with some symptoms in WWE. And then the fear that AEW has, do they go into reruns? Do they go? I mean, let's throw things at the wall here as we're in the final segment. Yeah. Would you want to see WWE say, hey, we're going full stop here, and we're gonna stop having new content for this amount of time, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna regroup, and we're also gonna make sure everyone's quarantined and no one's in our buildings, and we're not having anyone here, and then we're gonna come back. What is the next thing? Do you see some severe fallout from this? Because this is still developing and growing. You guys could be listening to this on Thursday, and more than we do at this point. But Teti, what do you think here?
I would actually love for both AEW and WWE and every other wrestling promotion to stop for a while and just let the people be back at home, let this calm down. Because if WWE has all these cases, what's to say that AEW isn't? Just because they're taking more precautions. My mom took every precaution possible, and my mom fought COVID. So this isn't a joke. And I really, really, really do hope that they take it more serious now.
Yeah.
Yeah. When this whole thing started, we hoped that they would stop all wrestling. We're just like, come on, guys, we can go a few weeks without wrestling. We'll be fine. And no, it was declared essential. And I didn't even know how. Like that blew my mind that even happened. Mm-hmm. Right. But if WWE and AEW were just like, hey, we're just going to give you reruns, or the WWE has so much content on their network, they could just play the whole Undertaker for 5 weeks. But
the thing is, they started doing in the beginning. You were getting partially live, and you're getting the full Royal Rumble, and fans responded to that incredibly negatively. That they're like, why would I watch Raw if I'm getting a match I already saw? You know, and I do think there is a sense of how do you do this without upsetting your week-to-week fans, your big television sponsors, and WWE's promise of the show must go on. Look how we kept going, and all these different things. That is their stubbornness is somewhat their strength. For me, I think if people are cleared to wrestle, they're going to be in that ring for WWE. That's the way I see these things. If they weren't in that ring already, I wouldn't see this stop, even if we're talking about like a dozen people having this. And that is scary because you think of how many other people are threatened by it, right? With AEW, I think the cloth of secrecy there is much more clear. Even though they have connections and they are much more accessible to the media than some people would say that WWE is, it wouldn't surprise me, and this isn't me saying it, no one has told me this, and I don't want anyone to say, oh, WrestleZone said that so. No, I'm not. I'm saying with WWE, there's a lot more eyes on them in terms of how they follow things because there's a lot more mainstream media attention, and that's why I think the things are more critical of them. It would not surprise me if someone in AEW tested positive, whether asymptomatic, pre-symptomatic, or symptomatic for this virus. And they didn't expose anyone, or they did, and it's already happened. With WWE, there have been 2 cases before this week, all right? And they didn't expose anyone, and then they kept going. So some people would say, oh, that wasn't safe. You just should have stopped then. Now I think because we're talking about multiple people and we're talking about someone in the ring, there could be a more serious response to this. But I just don't see them getting out of the ring. I just don't see either show getting out of the ring. It has been their hook. I think when COVID is done, this is a selling point in boardrooms. People don't think about that, but I think about how these shows are sold to advertisers. Some interesting things tonight here. Talking media business. Iridian's nodding along with me. She's been in a pitch meeting for a sales decline or two. All right. State Farm was on AEW a few months ago doing integrated content. Hey, this fan gets to go do this cool thing in an AEW show, and it's sponsored by State Farm Insurance. And then tonight, they sponsored a highlight reel on NXT, and it was very interesting because I was like, State Farm is a brand now that's been revamping itself and trying to skew younger to get younger people to sign up for auto insurance, home insurance, different forms of insurance. And I thought that was a very, very telling thing here. As much as people think, oh, this is a clear cut, this show's winning, this show's losing, I think both shows are doing great, and they probably have a much more diverse audience than you think. But as WWE evolves and everything goes on, you get through COVID, you say, look what we continued to do for our audience when that happened. And some other people come to the table. It's happened for WWE before. It happened for them when they continued to tour in 2001 after the awful events in 9/11. They were one of the first live TV events on air. That is something that WWE never forgot in their corporate culture. And that is something that AEW has bred. Half their guys are from that world. Half their guys are from that. And wrestling is this different world. It will always not be the center ring in the Circus of America, but it will always be one of those things in the Circus of America that people remember. But you can't say it's like football, or you can't say it's like this. And they're all dealing with the same issue. Are you telling me we're not going to get Major League Baseball because 5 guys in the Philadelphia Phillies got the COVID-19? No, we're still going to have baseball, and they're still going to play 60 games. So I say it, guys, but there is this sense in America right now where this is dangerous, but the gates are already open. To pull people back right now for some people is way too scary. And I just don't see that happening right away. Though I do see WWE doing something a lot more strict this time around. That's my take. We will be back on WrestleZone tomorrow afternoon with the live show. Dominic D'Angelo joining us as well. If you're enjoying the show and you listen to it, you're like, oh, wow, this is really, really fun. Subscribe to the podcast. We're doing some really, really cool stuff on there because on the podcast feed, you get 4 episodes of WrestleZone Daily, this podcast where I'm talking with everyone about what is going on in the ring, but we talk to people that are in that ring. We just spoke with Lisa Marie Varon, Victoria, one of the best wrestlers of all time. Why isn't she in the Hall of Fame? Teddy, can we talk about this? Why is Lisa Marie Varon not in the WWE Hall of Fame? It is a question I've been asking myself for a long, long time, even when I was sitting at her pizza restaurant years ago. What do you think about it? She's Hall of Fame bound, am I correct?
Yeah, I don't even know why she's not in the Hall of Fame. It upsets me just thinking about it.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous here,
Yep.
So we also had a great interview with Stu Bennett. You may know him as Bad News Wade Barrett about his upcoming movie, which is coming out soon. You can check that out. All of those interviews available in the WrestleZone podcast feed. If you like the show, you watch it on Facebook, but you can't have it up, and I just have the screen on, just go download the podcast, play it on in the background. You got to go shower. You got to go, run around in the neighborhood and avoid people and be 6 feet away from them and still get your sweat on. You can do that too. All right, of course, check out WrestFriends as well. That's WrestFriends. It's WREST Friends, not Wrestle Friends. I've had some people make that description, so definitely don't want our buddies over there to feel that. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. I love all the faithful names of Steven Chambers, Terrell Diggs, Salsa Tan, James Espanto. You know the rest. All right. I see all the did you do where the radio was doing dance?
I was like,
I love all the faithful fans of the show. Thank you so much for supporting the show. I know a lot of people are stressed out right now. Maybe some people, I've heard some people message the show privately say, hey, I lost my job and I was listening to shows from 2 weeks ago and I was still having a good time just online applying for jobs. I was like, that's a great thing. So if you're having a stressful time in our show, just chatting about wrestling gives you a good escape, then right on, dude. That's what we're here for. All right, give me a follow on the Twitter at Kev Kellam. Of course, follow at WrestleZone.com. We'll be back tomorrow. Please remember, Teddy, do you know the sign-off? Because I always go to Iridian for the sign-off. But do you know the sign-off?
Oh,
you don't?
No.
Okay. All right. It's okay. It's all right. I reached over for the hot tag and got a big hand of air. That's what I got. All right. No, I'm teasing.
It's okay. We're a 3-person tag team. You can tag me in.
Yes. We're Fever Cool, baby. We're the New Day, man. That's all right. I'm into it. Yeah.
We could be New Day. We could be Triángulo de la Muerte. We got this. Like
Triángulo de la Muerte. Yes.
All day. Like we're going to go with that one. Yeah.
We're the New Death Triangle. I am on board with it. I am totally on board with it. When watching wrestling, enjoy wrestling. Yeah. WrestFriends. See, got your stuff in. One more plug.